Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. Today, we're diving deep into a strategy that could really change the way you think about securing your retirement. It's international gold IRAs. So if you're looking for ways to protect your wealth and diversify your retirement portfolio, this deep dive is for you. In fact, for a free checklist to help you choose the right gold IRA company, visit goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It's packed with valuable tips to make sure you're making informed decisions every step of the way.
Right. We're going beyond the basics of gold as a safe haven, exploring how you can leverage its global value for even greater protection and potential growth.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine your retirement savings safe and sound, maybe even growing, no matter what economic storms are brewing. That's part of the appeal of gold, right? But what if you could take it a step further? What if you could safeguard your wealth, not just from market fluctuations, but from things like geopolitical risks or even currency devaluation?
Yeah. What's fascinating here is that gold's value isn't tied to any single country or currency. It's recognized and traded globally, making it a powerful hedge in uncertain times. Think of it as global wealth shielding. By diversifying your assets beyond the U.S., you're creating a safety net that's less vulnerable to local market fluctuations, currency woes, or even political instability.
So even if things get a little rocky here in the U.S., my gold held internationally could potentially hold its value better.
That's the idea. You're essentially reducing your exposure to any single country's economic or political risks. And, some jurisdictions are particularly attractive for holding gold offshore. Places like Switzerland, Singapore, the Cayman Islands, they're known for their stability and often have favorable tax environments for precious metals.
Interesting. So we're adding a layer of protection against risk by going international. But are there any tax advantages to holding gold this way? This is where it gets really interesting for a lot of people.
Absolutely. One of the biggest benefits of an international gold IRA is the potential for tax advantages. Now, just like traditional U.S.-based gold IRAs, you benefit from tax deferral, meaning you don't pay taxes on any gains until you retire.
But you're saying there's potentially even more to it than that, right?
Here's where it gets even more interesting. Depending on the specific foreign jurisdiction you choose for your international gold IRA, you might unlock even greater tax advantages. Some countries have tax treaties with the U.S. that can minimize or even eliminate taxes on your gold investments. For example, if you were to hold your gold in a jurisdiction with no capital gains tax on gold, you could potentially avoid paying any taxes on the growth of your investment, both in the U.S. and in the country where the gold is held.
That's potentially significant. It sounds almost too good to be true, though.
No,
Imagine there's got to be a catch.
Yeah. Well, it's not a catch so much as it's a matter of complexity. Navigating the world of international tax laws and regulations is not a DIY project. It's crucial to consult with a tax professional who specializes in cross-border estate planning to make sure everything is done properly and legally.
Okay, so while the tax benefits sound amazing, it's not something to jump into without expert guidance. And speaking of complexity, I'm sure some of our listeners are wondering about the logistics of actually setting up an international gold IRA. How does that even work?
That's a great question, and it's important to understand that compliance is key. Gold IRAs, even international ones, have to follow IRS rules. We're talking about purity standards for the gold, using an approved custodian, and there are strict reporting requirements for those offshore holdings, under something called FCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act.
So even though my gold is being held outside the U.S., I still need to play by the IRS's rules.
Absolutely. It's not like you can just stash some gold bars in a Swiss vault and call it a day. There's paperwork, there are regulations, and it's all about doing things the right way to maintain those tax advantages and avoid any legal issues down the road.
All right, you've definitely highlighted the importance of doing your homework and getting expert advice, but let's zoom out for a second. Imagine someone is on the fence about whether to go with a domestic or international gold IRA. What are the key factors they should consider?
That's where a good side-by-side comparison can be really helpful. Let's break down the key differences, starting with storage location. With a domestic gold IRA, your gold is typically held in a secure vault within the U.S. But with an international IRA, you're looking at offshore vaults in those stable jurisdictions we discussed earlier, like Switzerland or Singapore.
So it's a geographical diversification of assets in addition to the asset diversification of gold itself.
Exactly. And as we've discussed, both domestic and international gold IRAs offer tax-deferred growth. But those international options might unlock additional tax advantages based on the specific jurisdiction and tax treaties in place. That's right. Now let's talk about something that's on a lot of people's minds these days: Political and market risk exposure. A domestic gold IRA is tied to the U.S. economy and political landscape, whereas an international gold IRA can provide a level of protection against things like geopolitical instability, currency devaluation, and even potential changes in U.S. tax laws.
So it's kind of like a built-in hedge against things that could specifically impact the U.S.
That's one way to look at it. It's all about spreading your risk and creating a more resilient portfolio. And of course, we can't forget about estate planning, which is a major concern for high net worth individuals. A domestic gold IRA would be subject to U.S. estate taxes. But depending on how an international gold IRA is structured and the jurisdiction you choose, there might be opportunities to minimize or even avoid those estate taxes.
That could mean significant savings for your heirs down the line. It sounds like there are a lot of potential benefits to going international with a gold IRA.
There certainly are, but it's essential to remember that with those potential benefits comes increased complexity. The choice of custodian, for example, becomes even more critical with an international gold IRA. While you need a qualified custodian for any gold IRA, for an international one, that custodian needs to be well-versed in both U.S. and local regulations to ensure compliance on all fronts. They're your partners in this journey. So you need to make sure they're reputable, experienced, and have a proven track record of compliance.
Finding the right custodian is just as important as choosing the right country, then.
Absolutely. They play a vital role in ensuring the security and proper management of your assets.
This comparison really highlights the pros and cons of each option. International gold IRAs seem to offer a wider range of potential benefits, but they also require more careful planning and higher level of expertise.
That's a great summary. It's about weighing those potential benefits against the need for expert guidance and careful planning. Ultimately, the best choice for you will depend on your individual circumstances, risk tolerance, and financial goals.
That makes a lot of sense. And for anyone feeling a little overwhelmed, remember our free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It'll walk you through the key steps for choosing the right gold IRA company, whether you're staying domestic or going international. Now, we've talked a lot about the mechanics of international gold IRAs, but I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about the emotional side of this decision. After all, we're talking about taking a portion of your hard-earned savings and putting it into an asset that's held outside of your home country. That can feel risky or unsettling for some people.
That's an important point, and it's something that often gets overlooked. Investing, especially when it comes to retirement savings, is never purely rational. Emotions play a role, and it's important to acknowledge and address them.
Right. There's a level of trust involved, not just in the process itself, but in the stability of other countries and their financial systems. How can people navigate those feelings of uncertainty or even fear?
I think it starts with education and understanding. The more you understand about international gold IRAs, the more comfortable you'll feel with the concept. We've talked about the importance of due diligence, researching jurisdictions, finding reputable custodians, and working with tax professionals. Those steps aren't just about compliance. They're about building confidence and peace of mind.
It's about taking control of the process and making informed decisions, rather than feeling like you're handing over your savings to some unknown entity in a far-off land.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge and making choices that align with your individual needs and risk tolerance.
And it's also important to remember that diversification is a fundamental principle of sound investing, whether it's diversifying across different asset classes or geographically. Spreading your risk can help protect your portfolio from unexpected events.
Absolutely. International gold IRAs can be seen as an extension of that diversification principle. It's about taking it a step further and considering assets that might not be directly correlated with the U.S. economy or financial markets.
That can bring a sense of security, knowing that you've taken steps to safeguard your wealth against a wider range of potential risks. Speaking of risk, one thing that comes to mind is currency risk. If you're holding gold in a foreign country, wouldn't you be exposed to fluctuations in the value of that country's currency?
That's a great question, and it's something to consider. However, the key here is that gold itself is a form of currency. Historically, it's been a store of value that has held up well against fiat currencies, especially during times of economic uncertainty. So while you're technically exposed to the currency fluctuations of the country where your gold is stored, you also have the underlying value of the gold itself, which can act as a buffer against those fluctuations.
That's an important distinction. So even if the value of a particular currency goes down, the value of the gold itself could go up, potentially offsetting any losses.
Precisely. And that's another reason why gold is often seen as a hedge against inflation. As fiat currencies lose purchasing power, gold tends to retain its value and in some cases even increase in value.
That makes sense. So with an international gold IRA, you're not just diversifying your assets geographically, you're also potentially hedging against currency risk and inflation.
Right. It's about creating a more robust and resilient portfolio that can weather various economic storms.
This discussion is really opening my eyes to the potential benefits of thinking beyond borders when it comes to retirement planning.
It's about expanding your horizons and recognizing that there are options beyond traditional U.S.-based investments.
And it's about being proactive and taking control of your financial future, which is what the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast is all about.
Absolutely. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge and making informed decisions that align with your individual goals and values.
We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring the complexities and potential benefits of international gold IRAs. But before we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important takeaway is this. International gold IRAs can be a powerful tool for wealth protection and diversification, but they require careful planning and expert guidance. Don't jump into this blindly. Do your research, seek professional advice, and make sure this strategy aligns with your overall financial goals and risk tolerance.
It's about informed empowerment, taking control of your financial future and exploring all the options available to you.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and taking steps to safeguard your wealth against a range of potential risks.
And for anyone ready to take that next step, remember to check out our free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It'll guide you through the process of choosing the right gold IRA company, whether you're staying domestic or going international. It's a valuable resource to help you make informed decisions. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. If you could diversify your retirement savings beyond U.S. borders, potentially minimizing risk A&D taxes, wouldn't you at least want to explore those options?
It's a question worth pondering. International gold IRAs offer a unique way to potentially safeguard your wealth against a range of threats, from market volatility to geopolitical uncertainty.
They really do seem like a powerful tool. But as we've discussed, they're not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's crucial to do your research, seek expert guidance, and make sure this strategy aligns with your individual circumstances and financial goals.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's important to remember that the decision to invest in gold, whether domestically or internationally, it's a personal one. It's about taking control of your financial future and making choices that align with your values and risk tolerance.
That's a great point. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's about finding what works best for you and your unique situation. And for those who are ready to explore their options further, remember to visit goldirablueprint.com/exclusive for that free checklist. It's packed with tips to help you choose the right gold IRA company for your needs.
Yeah, it's a valuable resource to help you get started on the right path.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of gold as a safe haven to the complexities of international gold IRAs. Hopefully, our listeners now have a better understanding of this strategy and can make more informed decisions about their retirement savings.
I agree. It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you and your listeners.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into international gold IRAs. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.